Welcome back, everyone, to the Athlete's Mind podcast. Really looking forward to this one. It's been a while since we've actually done a podcast interview. We've been doing a lot of other types of content lately. And as you guys know, I really like my martial arts and boxing interviews. So today, really excited because we are joined by Tanaka Saburi. And he's a professional boxer and really looking forward to this one. So thank you so much, Tanaka, for joining us today. I know you've come a bit of a far way. Do appreciate it. How are you today?
No, I'm good, bro. I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Now, obviously, you are a professional boxer, but we also like to start our interviews a similar way whenever we interview someone, and that's getting a bit of a backstory. So for you, where did the boxing journey actually begin? Was it from a young age or a bit later on?
For me, I've always been football orientated.
Yeah.
Like, I was never actually a boxer. So like, me and my dad used to just watch football since I was a kid, watching the Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United games, all them kind of things there. And then I played football as a kid. I started taking football more serious, and I started failing in school. And my parents were like, you need to lay back from football and focus on your education. And I stopped football for a while. And then when I tried to get back into it, I had 2 left feet, bro. Like, I couldn't do football.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, you know what, let me try to tap into boxing. Like, I only started boxing in 2022.
Okay.
And then fighting in 2023. But, it just started off as a hobby. Like, I never thought I'd ever fight, bro. I just did it as for fitness.
Yeah.
Because with my dad, after football, we started watching boxing. I was like, I love boxing. And
it's interesting. A lot of fighters, like hearing their backstory, a lot of them usually started with a different sport, football being a pretty popular one, actually. And they always try boxing for fitness and then they end up loving it. So that's always pretty cool to hear. But did you actually you didn't grow up here in Perth, did you?
No. I only moved to Perth in 2019.
Okay.
2019.
Yeah,
2019.
And that's from London, right?
Nah, so I was born in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Left when I was like 1 or 2. Moved to New Zealand. And from there, came to Australia and England and Australia.
Yeah, okay. And what was it like, kind of like moving here? Like, was it a little bit hard to maybe adapt at first?
Nah, not at all. It was because before I even come to Perth, I actually lived in Kalgoorlie.
Oh, okay.
So like, I did most of my schooling in Kalgoorlie as well. So it's just normal.
Yeah, nice. Well, I'm interested to know, so you started in 2019, or was it 2020 you started boxing?
Learning how to throw my very first punch was maybe like 2020.
Okay.
And I did boxing just for fun.
Yeah.
2021 for fun. 2022, that's when I actually started training a bit. And that's when I first started at Cuban Boxing Club in the city.
I know Cuban Boxing Club,
and then, from there I went to, I don't know if you know Moses Deng.
Yeah.
That's like my boy. From there I went to Kick-Ass MMA, and that's when I started training there for a bit. And I obviously moved to down south in like where I train now. And then, started fighting in 2023.
Yeah, okay. So, we've done a couple of videos with Cuban Boxing Club, and we've also had Moses Deng on here. So, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Something I always like to ask fighters on here, like when you first started boxing, not so much training, but actually getting in the ring, sparring, fighting, what was people's like reaction when you would tell them like I'm a boxer? Like, did your friends or family kind of worry a little bit about you? I know, like, for me, when I started like learning a bit of boxing, my parents were a little bit like worried about me actually getting in the ring. Yeah. Did you have any of that, family members a bit concerned?
My auntie and my mum never wanted me to do boxing, I'll be honest. Yeah. Like, I don't want my son going in the ring, getting mashed up, coming home with bruises. They were kind of against it at the start.
Yeah.
But my dad has always been supportive. He's been like, if you think you're a bad man, go in the ring. Let's see if you're really about it. But over time, my family's become very supportive. Like, my mum's my number 1 supporter. She will never come to my fights because she doesn't want to see me get hit. But she's always there before and after to make sure I'm eating well, after to like look after me with a win or loss, and she feeds me right.
Yeah, awesome. Does she like just probably get a bit too stressed? That's why she doesn't want you.
Yeah, I feel like my mum just doesn't like blood. Like, she's weak with blood. She doesn't like to see blood in it. So that's
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit about your amateur boxing. So you obviously fought in the amateurs. I'm curious to know, are there any particular achievements or experiences that you're very proud looking back at in the amateurs?
Yeah. So. Like I said, I only started fighting in 2023. And in that year, I probably only had like 3 fights in 2023. I wasn't really as active. But 2024, in the span of 1 year in 2024, that's when I had most of all my fights. The rest of my fights, I competed in states. Like I jumped from fighting a novice to then fighting intermediate and elites in the span of 1 year. So I had as much fights as possible, competed in states, tried to qualify for nationals.
So was there like a point that I'm guessing maybe your coach would have said to you like, hey, you can actually take this somewhere? Or was it just like kind of just going with the flow, seeing what happens?
So for me in 2024, once I reached elites, I started getting pretty much like the same opponents. It was hard for me to get a matchup after a while. Like I couldn't get a matchup. I'll put my name down and I just wouldn't get a matchup. No one wanted to fight. And then my coach was realizing that this is becoming like an issue, like it's recurring. Like I'll put my name down, I wouldn't get a matchup. And if I do get a matchup, it's usually the same opponent. Like I'd rinse around the same opponents every single time. And then that's when he was like, you know what, like maybe you're ready to go pro. And me in my head, I was like, I had a bit of doubt. I was like, I don't think I'm ready. But he started sending me to spar one of like the best, like in the city, in Australia, and they'll come to our gym and we'll spar. And that's when I realized, well, like I think I might be ready to go pro.
Yeah.
And then, from there, never looked back at it.
How different, in your opinion, is the pro style to amateur style? Because I know it's something that I find quite interesting. Obviously, amateurs usually 3 rounds, and it's much more of a fast-paced type of style, where in the pros, the fighter's gone for the knockout. Was that kind of play in your mind when you made that move to pro that you might have to adapt your style, or did you find that like no issue at all?
There's 100% a big difference between being pro and being in amateurs. In amateurs, it's more of like a point system. Like you're trying to tap, like get as much points as possible in the span of 3 rounds. In pros, it's more damage, and you got more rounds to showcase your skill. So like, for me, obviously when I was in amateurs, I had an amateur style. Because I began my boxing at Cuban Boxing Club. I had more of like a Cuban boxing kind of style. Yeah. And then I had to kind of switch and adapt to, because I like to fight with my hands down. Like that's kind of my style. And then I learned like, if I really want to progress in the amateurs and get to like maybe Olympic level, Commonwealth level, like I have to kind of put my hands up a little bit. And yeah, once I realized I'm more of like a pro fighter while I was still in the amateurs. Like I like to sit and like, I like to punch up, like, you know what I'm saying? And I realized you lose fights in amateurs like that. You can't win a fight in the amateurs standing there collecting punches and trying to hit someone back. Yeah. It's more of about, you have to be technical. You have to be able to bounce up, down, move around. And yeah, that's why I think that's why I'm more adapted to the pros. Because in the pros, I can do my style. I can catch punches and I'm not going to lose the fight by catching punches. I'm just gonna I'm interested, like in amateurs, like is a knockdown counted the same as like, I don't know, like a right hand, say, or like how does that point system work? Because you're saying like obviously you're trying to get as much points in those 3 rounds. Like I don't see many knockdowns in amateurs. Like it's kind of rare. So how does the point system actually work with that? To be honest, I'd be lying to you if I told you I know exactly how the points work. But one thing I do know, if you get a knockout in amateurs, so in pro boxing, actually with amateur boxers, it's a 10-9 kind of point system. So if you win a round, you get 10 points. If you lose a round, you get 9 points. Okay. It's a must 10-point kind of system. Yeah. With if you get knocked down, you don't lose a point in amateurs. The difference is in pros, if you get knocked down, you lose a point. Yeah. So let's say I'm winning the round, it's 10-9. But let's say I knock him out in the round, it's now 10 to me, 8 to the other guy. Yeah, so that's the way, that's the difference between pro and boxing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting. Well, just before we move on to your pro boxing, when you did make that move from amateurs to pros, like what was it like the conversation with your coach like? Obviously we just spoke about changing, well not really changing your style, but the differences in styles. Was that a conversation you had with your coach as well? Did he kind of say like, hey, we might need to start changing the way you train to build up your tank for, let's say an 8 or a 10 or a 12 rounder instead of a 3 rounder? Did you have to change up your training in any way?
Yeah, 100%. So like we started doing more long distance runs, more sprints, more. So again, like with amateurs, it's more like bursts. It's blah, 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 blah. Yeah. With pros, it's more sit down.
You have to be a bit more patient.
Yeah, more patient. In amateurs, you don't really have as much time to be patient. You got 3 rounds, 3 minutes to execute and win. In pros, you got 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 12 rounds, 10 rounds to showcase your skill and figure out how you're going to break down your opponent and knock them out and win.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had to change a lot of things in my training in order to execute that.
Okay.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah, well, going on to your pro boxing, so it was earlier this year in March, you actually decided to make the move to pro. Was that like always the plan to like go pro like that? I know you mentioned it briefly before, but you said you didn't feel like you were ready. Like, I'm sure that's something you would have spoken about with your coach, but did it feel like a bit surreal? Like I'm a pro boxer now.
Yeah,
you know?
like I feel like when I got the contract and everything and like it was in front of me, that's when I realized, oh, this is the real deal. And obviously before getting the contract, me and my coach were talking for bare time and he's like, I think you're ready to be pro. Obviously I doubted at the start, but after like sparring more, sitting down more, doing more research, that's when I started getting more confidence. And obviously I prayed about it and I realized this is like my destiny, like that's my path, this is what I really want to do. And yeah, I've just never looked back. So
yeah. Well, something I wanted to speak about with you is social media and the role it kind of plays in boxing today. So I think it's fair to say that social media has played a pretty big part in promoting yourself and getting your name out there in martial arts. And in my opinion, it's really changed how boxing is. You know, you can be a good fighter with a clean record, but if no one wants to watch you and you're a little bit boring, not promoting yourself, then at the end of the day, like, it's like you need that social media in today's day and age. So how important do you kind of value social media for you? I know you've had a bit of documentary filming going on. So is that something you kind of prioritize with your boxing?
I feel like it's like I said, with amateurs, social media is not really that important.
Yeah, yeah.
But in pro, I feel like your social media presence is equally as important as your skills. I feel like you could have a clean record, be a very good fighter, but if no one knows about you, no one has ever seen you, you're not going to be put on the big fight card in Dubai or
exactly.
You're not going to be, you know what I'm trying to say. So I feel like with me, I'm trying to use my social media to brand my name. Like, I want to not be confident, but be humble with it, but still showcase like, yeah, I'm out there. Like, T-Sabs is ready. Like, I'm ready to fight anyone. I'm not gonna, so.
Yeah, cool. Well, speaking of that documentary, like, I'm interested to know, like, what was that like, kind of having someone follow you around, like, your training, like, with a camera? Like, I imagine it might be, like, a little bit weird at first, but what was that like, having that doco?
I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel good. Like, I started feeling like I had what's the word? Paparazzi?
Yeah, paparazzi, yeah.
I started feeling like I had paparazzi around me, man. Like, he's amazing. I love him, bro. That's my bro. He's the best videographer. I've one of the best videographers I've worked with. And like he would come to all my training sessions, early morning runs. If I had a swimming session, if I had sauna, he was just there filming everything.
Yeah, sick.
And I used to see sneak peeks as well after he'd edited it. I'm like, damn, that's cold. Like, I can't wait to. So it's just surreal having a videographer.
Yeah, nice. Well, we'll go on to talk a little bit about your pro debut on Dragonfire Boxing on the Thunderdome card. Now, there was a little bit of controversy surrounding your loss, and, you know, now that some time's passed, like, how do you sort of reflect on, you know, going into that fight? Obviously, it's your first pro fight, and in a way, like, a lot of people saying that you won. So what do you kind of think now, looking back at your first fight?
Like, it's just business, innit? Like, you win, you lose. You can't change the past. For me, I'm now just looking forward. Like, what's happened has happened. I'm just trying to be more active now. Get as much fights as possible. Obviously, prove myself that, like, obviously what happened in the past happened, but I'm still one of the best. Like, I'm still going to win. Like, your past doesn't define your future. So even though that first fight might be a loss, there's many greats who've lost their first couple fights, but they won belts, they won championships.
For sure.
One of the best in the world. So for me, I'm not holding on to that. Like, what happened is what happened. I can't change that. This is business. That's what happens in boxing.
Yeah. So, has it? I imagine it might have changed your mentality in a way, like training much harder because you don't really want to experience that feeling of losing again.
Yeah, like, I'll be honest with you, bro. After the decision, like, I was proper devastated, fam. Like, I was like, rah. Like, I thought I did enough, obviously, to win the fight. And it took me like a couple of days to sit down and think, like, if this is my first fight, what's it going to look like for the rest of my fights? Am I going to get the same kind of decisions, same kind of results? And then one thing I think obviously my coach, Paul and Keith, they really sat me down. But also, I don't know if you know Action Jackson England.
Yeah, okay.
He's one of Perth's greatest fighters. He gave me a word and he sat me down and he's like, Tanaka, this is boxing. Like, this is now pros. Like, this might be your loss, but you need to see the wins in what you've done as well. Like, not everyone can hop in a ring in front of thousands or hundreds of people and fight. And you were able to put a performance. People now know who you are. Even though on the paper it says you lost, everyone else knows that you've won, and they've seen your heart, like you're a warrior. And I said, yeah, I see that. And it opened my mindset. Like, I realized not all losses are losses. Like,
bit of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it's
maybe.
A blessing in disguise. Like, a lot of doors have opened from that fight. So yeah. But the plan forward, moving on from that fight, is just be as active and change my game plan. Like what I did in the first fight, obviously it came with a loss. I need to change it up. Just do something different in it. So,
For sure, yeah. Well, talking about today's day and age of boxing and that having that loss on a record, like I think it really has, in my opinion anyway, damaged boxing a little bit. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because of the whole Floyd era, maybe him changing the game, but I feel like a lot of fighters maybe a bit like hesitant to take certain fights because of sacrificing that O on their record. Do you think that has become quite a big problem in boxing?
Yeah, that's very true. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I had that same kind of mentality as well. I was like, bro, once I go pro, bro, I can't lose. Like, I need to keep my O.
Yeah.
But you learn that most people who have like their O, if they have, like, let's say 20 and O or 12 and O, if you look at the people they're fighting, you'll not everyone, I'm not saying everyone, some people you might see they cherry pick their fighters.
Yeah.
Like, they'll see, okay, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? With me, I have the mindset where, like, I don't care who it is. Like, I don't care if they're 20 and 0, 12 and 0, 6 and 1. I don't really care about the record. I care about the person. Like, let's see if that record really reflects your skill in the ring. So, yeah, that's the kind of mindset I have. Like, after that fight, that's the mindset I have now. Because I know, like, I might have a 0 and 1, but that person might look at me and think, oh, I got 0 and 1, I can beat him. But he doesn't know, like, that fight wasn't like a loss, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the mindset I now have. So I don't care about a record. I just care about doing what I have to do, deliver what I have to do. And obviously I want to win, but yeah.
Yeah, I think even from a spectator's point of view, at least from my point of view, like, I think we have much more respect for someone who is just going to fight whoever is put in front of him, instead of just like, oh, like, nah, just, like you said, bit of cherry picking. Like, that's not really, I don't like that. So, I mean, I can't talk because I don't know what it's like to fight on a pro card or anything. But, just like from a spectator's point of view, like, I think you earn much more respect kind of like taking those tough fights. And talking a little bit about what's next for you. I know we were speaking a little bit before the podcast, but in terms of like your next fight, like, what are the plans moving forward?
So obviously there's a card on May 30th. Like I was talking before, I couldn't fight on that one because I had a lot of nursing. I do nursing.
Yeah.
So like my nursing commitments were interrupting with my training commitments. So I don't want to have an excuse and be like, oh, I lost that fight because I was at work, I had placements, I had all that. So I was like, I'd rather just dedicate my life to boxing completely and then rather have excuses. So that's why I'm not fighting on May. But my next card should be, hopefully when I come back, because I'm going back to England in July, I'm going to be training over there, linking with a couple of people.
Yeah, you get some good training over there.
And then I'll come back maybe around September, October. And then the next card that's available, I'm there, bro. And then next year, I'm just active. Like, I'm going to drop nursing completely. Yeah, okay. And then just box every single day.
Well, you obviously mentioned nursing. Like, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really heard that one before from someone who's a boxer. Like, what is that like, balancing that out with nursing? Like, that's obviously very demanding. So
with me, bro, like, I've always had a passion for nursing. Like, I love helping people. I've always been good at human biology. And I was like, let me combine that human biology. I have a passion for helping people. nursing.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it. But then obviously boxing has taken over, and like there's been times where like even for my last pro fight, I had to cancel shifts. Like I couldn't go to shifts. I had to apply for leave, apply for this. I can't go to work, and I realized like I have to choose one. Like I either have to do nursing or I have to become a boxer. So like I've now decided that boxing is my life. Like I can live with boxing. Like I can sustain myself with boxing. So I'm gonna take boxing 100%. And if I need to back up, I can go back to nursing. So.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's really cool, man. Well, I think it's interesting to talk a bit about mindset when it comes to, especially boxing, because there's so many people that have come on this podcast and they talk about it really is a lifestyle, boxing. You know, you got to change your whole life. You're training every day, your diet. You have to keep very strict with what you're eating and etc. So did you start to learn that mentality that it's really like, okay, I have to go all in here and really dedicate myself if I want to take this somewhere? And do you think for other boxers that is a crucial thing to have that mentality if they're serious about it?
Yeah, 100%. You can't be lukewarm with boxing. You either have to be cold or you're hot. You're either in it or you're not. And I think I learned that early in my amateurs. Like after a couple, maybe like after 2 fights, I used to think, I could come to training maybe twice a week, and I can go to sparring. Like I didn't want to train; I just wanted to spar. I feel like every boxer has that mindset where they don't want to train; they just want to spar. And then reality hits you when you're in the ring. Like if you don't train, it's going to reflect when you're in the ring.
For sure.
So I've had to change my lifestyle with boxing. I don't go out. I literally all I do is live and breathe boxing. Morning training, afternoon training, night training. Yeah. And then whenever I'm free, I just sleep or eat.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, you know, it's hard to beat someone that when that's all they're doing. Yeah. Like it's very hard to beat them. But something I probably don't ask enough to fighters on here, like although you have that very strong mentality of all I do is boxing and, you know, day in, day out, does it sometimes play in your mind that, okay, the guy that I might be fighting or there's other people out there that have a very similar mentality to me, does that sometimes, I don't know the word, I wouldn't say scare you, but sometimes make you think like, I guess it would make you work harder in a way, knowing that there's other people out there that want it just as bad as you. But does that ever play on your mind?
Nah, the thing is, I know that. Like, there's no way I'm the only person on earth that's training morning after. I know there's bigger, badder fish in the world, you know what I'm saying? But you need to find out who's the best shark in the ocean. So, like, if I'm training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but there's someone else training Monday to Sunday, and I know that's happening, I need to train just as hard as him in order to beat him. So I know there's people that work hard. I know there's people that probably even work harder. But at the end of the day, it's about who's got the best skill, who has that heart. They're not, when they're dropped, they're going to be able to stand up. They're not going to give up. So I feel like, it's, besides being the training side of things, it's also like a mental kind of thing, like what you were saying.
Yeah.
Like it's 50% being physical, 50% being mental.
Yeah.
Like he might be training twice as hard as me, so he's got that 50%, but my mental, I'm higher than him. So I'm going to win because I'm mentally there, more prepared than him. And
yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of a bit of that mental side as well, what do you think is the biggest thing boxing has taught you? Like, I know discipline is a huge one that is pretty common on here for most fighters, but I'd find this question very interesting because I know for me, especially when I started boxing, I was 16. I was just doing it as a bit of training. I did a little bit of sparring here and there. I wasn't like that good or anything, but the biggest thing I took from boxing was like the discipline. Like I applied that to like other areas of my life to work hard. So I know, you know, pretty much your whole life you're all in on boxing, but has that kind of impacted positively any other areas of your life? Yeah,
it's taught me patience. In boxing, you need to be patient with everything you do. You can't rush stuff. And that's, I've put that into like my own, out of the ring, I'm now more like patient with things.
Yeah.
Like you can't, for example, in a fight, you can't rush to knock someone out. You have to be patient. You have to pick when you're going to strike, jab, body. In life, I've learned that you need to be patient with the decisions you make. You can't, I don't know, explain it, like, but I've just learned to be patient in it.
Yeah.
So, like, and even with my nursing and my career and job, it all interconnects kind of. Like with nursing, I have to be patient. Otherwise, if I'm rushing, I might give a patient the wrong drug.
Yeah.
And boxing, if I'm not patient, like
you can get hurt.
I can get hurt. You know what I'm saying? So everything in my life just interconnects somehow. So
I like that patience, because I definitely know for me, like it's interesting. People that don't really know much about boxing or martial arts, like a common stereotype I feel like is, it's violent, everyone's angry and all this. But it's funny because like I think one of the biggest things I learned as well was like being calm. Like the first day I went into the gym, I just wanted to hit the bag, swing, and my coach said, just calm down, like just relax, and it's just like slow everything down, and then you end up applying that to other areas of your life, like you said, nursing, and I think that's a very important thing, patience. It's probably one of the most important things you can learn, in my opinion. Now, just something I wanted to leave with, a pretty interesting question that some people like to talk about on here is you really preach God on your social media, and you really give him credit, and I think that's really inspiring to myself and a lot of other people watching. How important is that to you to kind of promote that on your platform, and how important is God to you in terms of your boxing career?
For me, God is my number one, bro. The reason I wouldn't be doing boxing if God didn't give me the talent. I wake up and breathe because God allowed me to wake up. So God is my number one. And I feel like most people, when they start getting the spotlight, they forget about God. They start worrying about money. They start worrying about fame.
Yeah, a lot of the external factors.
All the external stuff. But if they forget the reason they even got up there was because when you're in the mud, God was there giving you everything you need. So I feel like that's number one, why I give thanks to God and why I preach God and my relationship with God on my socials. So people realize, like, even though wherever he is, whatever he's doing, whatever he's getting, he's still humble. He knows, like, his roots. So,
Yeah, nice, man. I like that. And I'll just leave you one question when we ask all our athletes that come on here. It's just a bit of advice for, younger boxers or younger athletes that want to either try boxing or even get to where you're at. What advice would you sort of tell them?
Don't give up. Like, you will have doubters in your life. You will have people, like, even when I started boxing, I had people who hated on me, bro.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, look at my man, bro. He thinks he can fight. Like, I'm trying to say. But don't give up. No matter what the hate is, there's always a journey and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It may be dark where you are right now. You might feel like you want to give up. But just have as much fights as possible. One thing I always say is, I think I took this from Money Mayweather. He said this. He says, if you're in the amateurs is your apprenticeship days. Like, that's where you learn everything. Make as much mistakes as possible in the amateurs before you get into the pros.
Yeah, because you'd rather do it there than in the pros.
So that's literally the only thing I can say is have as much fights as possible, and listen to your coach. I am where I am right now because of my coach. I listen to Paul and Keith. Because of them, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And I just thank them for keeping me grounded.
Yeah, for sure. And just quickly, you mentioned a bit of like hate and sometimes things that people can say to you and doubt you. Did you experience that like quite early on, and are you still experiencing that, or is it kind of, it comes and goes? Like,
I feel like it started more at the start, bro. Like, if I do have haters right now, I don't even know about it. I don't pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? But like, I feel like everyone, you're not doing well if you're not getting hate. That's one thing I know. Like. If you don't have someone hating on you, in my opinion, I don't think you are where you are.
Because
it
shows you putting yourself out
you're
there.
putting yourself there. Like, for an example, the podcast, I don't know about you, but maybe you might have got hate when you started.
For sure.
Before you continue. But now you're doing interviews with the biggest UFC people.
And
everything. You know what I'm trying to say? So I feel like hate is needed in order to, it builds character. It builds you to be strong and to withstand, like, when you have battles in life. So I feel like I had hate at the start when I first started. But then eventually people start to turn and they'll be like, oh, like, damn, he's actually good. Oh, damn, like, now he's pro. And hopefully one day they'll be like, damn, he's world champion. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I feel like haters are needed. Like, it builds character.
Yeah.
And, like, everyone needs haters sometimes.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, well, that wraps up another episode here on The Athlete's Mind. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it. Love the boxers that come on here, and the MMA fighters. It's such an interesting interview to have on here. So, yeah, thank you once again. Hey, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that podcast interview. It's so good to be back with the interviews. Go and check out the recent vlog that I did on the channel. I trained with a UFC fighter, and it was really hard, but it was super fun to film. So yeah, go and give it a watch. It's pretty funny. I get dropped on my head a couple times, so you'll have a good laugh, I'm sure. Make sure you subscribe, follow our other socials. We got some big videos in the works coming. You really do not want to miss it. So thank you everyone, and I'll see you soon.